Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today I'm here to show you my Stamina Necromancer, also known as StamCro, beginner build for the Deadlands DLC patch. As a part of the beginner setup series, I'll be focusing on a starting rotation and gear that are easily accessible. For the sake of this theme and to be as new player friendly as possible, I'll be avoiding Mythics, Arena Weapons Trial, or Dungeon gear. Furthermore, the rotation for many classes will be simplified. This build is capable of pulling over 70k on the parse dummy and is viable for most starting content. The build specializes in normal group content such as trials, dungeons, and arenas. This build works great in Overland, but is not specifically designed for it. So with that out of the way, here we go. So starting off in the character sheet, I have 64 points in the stamina, and I'm running the Thief Mundus. For this particular build, I am a Dark Elf. Other alternatives include Khajiit, Orc, and maybe even Wood Elf would be fine. So for food, we're going to be running the RTM Takeaway Broth for most hard content. A cheaper and just as good alternative will be Dubious Cameron Throne, and if you need more sustain or you're parsing, Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice is always the go-to. Moving on to potions, for this particular build we're going to be using Essence of Weapon Power. I believe Essence of Weapon Power have 3 really important buffs for stamina DPS. These include Major Brutality, Major Savagery, and Major Endurance. Furthermore, these potions do cost a little bit, so make sure you have 3 points in the medicinal use from the Alchemy skill line to ensure that the buffs last the full duration. So for CP, we're running Fighting Finesse, Master at Arms, Deadly Aim, Backstabber. For the red tree, we're going to be running Bloody Renewal, Sustained by Suffering, Rejuvenation, and Boundless Vitality. Moving on to gear, we're going to be running 2 daggers of New Moon Acolyte. Main hand is Nirnhoned with a flame damage enchant. Offhand is charged with a poison damage enchant. On the back bar, we have a New Moon Acolyte Greatsword infused with a weapon damage enchant. For the head and shoulders, we have 2 pieces of Night Mother, both in light. Max Stam traded in Divines. For body, we have 5 pieces of Hunning's Rage, all medium. Max Stam traded in Divines. And for jewelry, we're running 3 pieces of New Moon Acolyte, all with weapon damage traded in Bloodthirsty. So for skills, we're going to be running Blighted Blast Bones, Detonating Siphon, Unnerving Boneyard, Deadly Cloak, Rending Slashes, Dawnbreaker, Carve, Stampede, Flex Spot, Skeletal Archer, Barb Trap, and Dawnbreaker again. So for the rotation, everything's going to revolve around casting your Blast Bones and 2 skills right after that. So it's going to go Blast Bones, Stampede, Carve, Blast Bones, Detonating Siphon, Unnerving Boneyard, Blast Bones, Rending Slashes, Deadly Cloak, Blast Bones, Skeletal Archer, Barb Trap, and then use your ultimate Flawless Dawnbreaker in place of Rending Slashes when it's ready. So closing thoughts. First off, you can replace your 2-hander on your back bar if you'd prefer to run a bow. If you do that, just swap out Stampede and Carve for Poison Injection and Endless Hail. Even on the parse dummy, we're running Unnerving Boneyard because the synergies can kind of get convoluted when you're trying to do a parse. Also, you have one of the strongest ultimates in the game with the Colossus for group content, so always prioritize using that instead of Dawnbreaker. Also, if you look at the bars on my back bar, I have Consuming Trap. There's really no reason why it's on there. That's the flex spot. You can put whatever skill you want in there, like a heal or whatever you need for different circumstances. So in terms of progression, I definitely work on replacing New Moon Acolyte as soon as possible. The best candidate for this for mid game, early game would be Briarheart. Briarheart is a good stam set and is super easy to get considering it's Overland and it's from Hrothgar. For a basic beginner setup, this would be Hunnings with Briarheart and a monster set. The monster set could be your choice, but my recommendation is Stormfist as a monster helm because it hits hard. Tempest Island on vet isn't too difficult, and overall it's just a good monster set. So next you have a choice of replacing your Hunnings and Briarheart, which from here is moving towards mid to end game. Arms of Reliquin is the MVP of stam sets and is really strong, but does require running Cloud Rest, which is a trial. If you run it on normal, it's very easy and you should work towards getting it if possible. Reliquin is a body set, meaning that we need to equip 5 pieces at all times, so we need to pair it with a front bar set because our back bar is going to be occupied with a arena weapon. Front bar sets, or just the best stam sets in general to pair with Reliquin or run separately, can either be Kenra, Pillar of Nirn, Zogvin, or Advancing Yokeda. Through that list, I think Kinra is the best option, but this is dependent on if you can keep the stacks in the content you're doing. Kinra comes from the dungeon Black Drake Villa, Pillar of Nirn comes from Falkreath Hold, Advancing Yokita comes from Hellraw Citadel, and Zovgan comes from Frost Vault. I'd also like to take this time to mention that Zovgan is unique and that it allows us to run a different skill instead of trap freeing up a bar slot. So once you get your gear sets figured out, next you want to decide if you want to go Mythic or if you want to go monster sets. First we'll go over Mythics. So for Mythics, you really only have two options, and they are kind of a pain to get, but they are some of the strongest items in the game. So first we have Death Dealer and Harpooners. Whichever one you do run, just make sure you pair that with one piece Slime Crawl, because you are foregoing your monster set to equip the Mythic. The reason we choose Slime Crawl is it has the best one piece for crit in the game, and getting it isn't too difficult either. So going back to the Mythics, Harpooners is viable for most content and is considered best in slot. Whenever you can't run that, a good alternative will be Death Dealer's Fate. And for our arena weapons, I think Maelstrom is probably the best bet. Greatsword seems like it's performing the best, but Bow is also a strong candidate. And if you want to skip all that and just go monster helms, we have a few options, but Stormfist, Kjarnar, and Maul the Inferno are my personal picks. And I think that wraps it up. That wraps up the build explanation section of this portion. As always, thank you for watching my video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. As a reminder, if this video helped in any way, please help the channel grow by subscribing, and if you like the piggies, like the video. Also, there's a new Discord server up, still a work in progress, but come join it. As per usual, there will be a outfit section and attached parts at the end, and I think that's it. Thanks again.